Canadian men continue to accomplish firsts for the program at this World Cup. Fresh off a first-ever point earned at a Men's World Cup, today they secure their first World Cup win. And what a victory it was. 6-0 the final over Qatar. But the win came at a price, a devastating leg injury to Ismael Kone, which we will discuss, but complete jubilation for Canadian fans across the country. Yes, Jesse Marsh's very odd celebration as we welcome you to Bet365 for the win. A beautiful home for the beautiful game. Annie Petrillo, Gareth Wheeler, and Jordan Wilson with you. We're going to be checking in with Mackenzie Barwell. She has a special guest with her today, Michael Finley, former Canadian national team assistant coach, Oliver Platt, Canada Soccer House, taking in the action with all the fans. And then in a moment, Christian Jack will be joining us. He took the game in live. But let's begin again with just history here, Wheels, and being able to secure this first win and what it means overall.
What an amazing day. Like a great day for Canada, Canadian sport, and the Canadian men's national team. 40 years of a wait, Andy. 40 years since Canada played in their first ever World Cup game, June 1st, 1986. That's 14,627 days. Wow. And over the course of that period of time, I think many of us thought, is this ever going to happen? And if so, how? And the how today was very important because it was record-breaking. A number of different records we're going to detail over the course of the show. It was brash, it was bold, it was beautiful. The players deserve all the credit in the world. And guess what? Now the country is galvanized. They're excited. It wasn't just a win. It was emphatic, convincing, and people are now genuinely excited about what this team can do.
6-piece nuggets, no fries? Let's go! I've waited so long. I've waited so long for this moment, but just to say that as well, emphatic is the word. This is vibes. And we said about this in particular game, just being in the middle and what it could mean now that you're going to go and play Switzerland. This is just beautiful. So everyone, let's just relish this moment because it's been a long time coming with this team in particular. We've documented how in big games, maybe they've fallen short. They were foot on the gas the whole time, and I'm so proud of this team.
14,627. They just knew that the first ever win had to come on home soil.
Yes.
And by the way, with those 6 goals, it is a pretty big deal as we welcome in Christian Jack to the show because Switzerland and Bosnia-Herzegovina had played earlier as well. KJ, we knew the Swiss, they pulled off the victory, but more importantly, it was a 4-1 scoreline, right? So the +3 goal differential, the Swiss were leading. So not only did Canada need to win, they also had to score some goals if they wanted to be top of the group.
Yeah, in the end, maybe it was worth the wait, huh? 96 years after the World Cup started, 40 years after our boys went to Mexico for the first time in this competition. You know, 6 days after the game in Toronto, 6 goals and a fantastic overall performance. You know, this is what this team has been wanting to do, show the world who they are, and the ability to go out there and deliver it on the biggest stage is fantastic. It was special, really special to be inside the building. Vancouver showed up. The fan base was absolutely marvelous at times when they really needed to be and get behind the team. You could sense it as well. There's a lot of images that's going to stand with people for a long time from this night. You know, we've waited a long time for this victory in the Men's World Cup, and it was really, I think, a big moment for the program going forward. But a lot of those images, of course, will also be talked about around Ismael Kone, because obviously it felt like the perfect night until it wasn't quite perfect. And maybe that's, you know, the epitome of what Canadian soccer is all about, because, you know, we had that emotion with Kone off the top there as well. So a difficult one for him, but ultimately, I think a fantastic night for Canada.
It really, really was. And there's so many other, as you mentioned, kind of historical moments here, right? The largest margin of victory by a team from CONCACAF at a Men's World Cup. And let's talk about Kyle Larin. You know, we kind of figured he'd be in the starting 11. You had him in there, Wheels, yesterday. So Kyle Larin gets into the starting 11. Jonathan David, they do not disappoint. Jonathan David becoming the first to get a hat-trick for Canada.
Yeah, really important for Kyle Larin to pick up where he left off last week, scoring in back-to-back games. He got the party started, and then it turned out to be the Jonathan David show. You just felt that there was going to be a purpose from this group to try to get David back to where he's comfortable, back where he's meant to be, and that's in the goals. And the finish was great. I thought his touches on the ball were vastly improved as well. And that was ticking a huge box, getting Jonathan David back on track. If this attack is going to continue this way, and look, They just played the 2 worst teams that they're going to play at this World Cup. That's in the rearview mirror. Looking ahead, you had to get Jonathan David going. A hat trick. The first player to do so from a non-European South American side since Bert Patenone in 1930, the first ever World Cup.
Wow.
So this is historic. His name is going to live forever, scoring a hat trick at a home World Cup. And the manner in which he did it gives a lot of confidence moving forward as well.
Of course, the goals people will talk about, and that's what we love, right? That's what changes the game. But I think it's the attitude of those 2 players.
Yeah.
Jonathan David, just even the first shot that Kyle Larin gets the rebound for, but it's him being instinctive and just waiting at that back post, but also having the attitude and desire to want to make the difference. I think that's important as well, because the past matches we've maybe criticized a little bit because his head's been down. He hasn't been looking like himself. He hasn't been joyous. Today he's playing with a bunch of joy, and he's getting those goals and chest bumping Eustachio. All these scenes and those vibes that we're going to carry through to the next round. And I love that about Kyle Larin as well. It's because he was a fox in the box on his first goal, right? To get things going, to get the day going. It's like he was being deliberate about his intention and his action. And that's what got Canada going and rolling in the right direction.
He was playing higher, too. It was partly based on the opponent dropping deeper, and deepest. But the areas he was finding himself in are the areas we're used to seeing Jonathan David thrive.
Yeah, KJ, this was bringing me back 5 years ago when David and Larin would be on the pitch together just trading goals. Like, nice little internal competition.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, this is what these 2 have been wanting to do for a while. Play together again up top. You could sense it in my interview with them in March, what they felt about each other, wanting to play together. We talked about it then. They went through some of my notes when I was talking to them about how many goals they've scored starting in the 11 for Canada going through it. It was 25 goals together in 35 games before today. They get another 4, and they stayed on the pitch the entire time. So that's a fantastic ratio for the 2 of the good friends, obviously, who share the same agent as well. But in the end, it was about Jonathan David. It was great that Kyle Larin was another opportunity to score and get the 1-0 goal, by the way. 1-0 Larin again. I've nicknamed him that for a long time. That's 13 1-0 goals that guy's got. I'm not going to go through the list. I've done it many times, those 1-0 goals in World Cup qualifying and the goal to get them to Copa America. And again, he set them going forward. But it wasn't just Larin, it was Jonathan David. Jonathan David sets up Kyle Larin's goal because of the ability to read the ball coming across, just dropping deep, the ferocity of his shot that led to the rebound that allowed Larin to score. And then obviously the volley as well, which is one of the greatest goals you're ever going to see from this team. And he is one of the greatest players that you're ever going to see on this team. And on the greatest night, you needed your great players to step up. And he was absolutely marvelous. Not only does he get his hat trick, but he was the best player on the pitch by a country mile. And it gets him going. It's been a bit of a story this week. You could see that they were talking about it in their celebration a little bit with Kone doing that with his fingers. But that's what we're about. We talk about this, but this is what expectations are there for big players to step up. And I don't think many of us expected him to score, and he did.
Incredible. We have the Golden Boot race board up right now. And I mean, Lionel Messi, what a start it was for him.
It's
and
early, but
David.
dream big. Dream big.
You know what? You're seeing 2 Canadian players up there with the likes of, yes, Messi and Kane and Holland. And that, you know what? Is pretty cool. At the end of the day, that is just pretty cool. By the way, Canada has never lost when Kyle Larin has scored. 22 wins and 3 draws. But definitely the Jonathan David show here. But you had mentioned it earlier, KJ. I think we all feel the same way. This was a party, and then something went wrong, and it was Ismael Kone going down, and the mics picked up what we now know to be, you know, from the Canadian bench. His leg is broken, and all of our hearts just sank. You spoke to some of the players after the match here. How was everyone feeling?
Yeah, it was the perfect night until it wasn't. You know, and it was really difficult to see, not just because of Ismael, but because of the entire team. And this was a night that many people will remember forever. The celebrations in the crowd and those that are there got to see an historic performance for Canada. And that's really special, and those images will stick with them. But there's other images, you know, and it's not just of Kone's injury, but for me, it's the moment that Kone was put on a stretcher and then everybody was wondering what was happening. And we see the rise, right? That's what we say in Canada. We saw Kone rise from the stretcher and sit up. In a moment when he's broke his leg and his World Cup is ended, he sits up to make sure that he waves to the crowd. and get that moment with the crowd. And I could not believe the strength of the man to be able to do that. And then, as before we get to the players, the way that this team reacted to that moment was poignant. And the reason why is because it was a night for love. And this team has been building something for a long time together, and they talk the talk and they walk the walk. And it's real and it's authentic. It's the togetherness. You could see the reaction on the field. You could see the love right away for their teammate. And at times they've hit that away. At times they've built that camaraderie, they've built that authenticity, and they've built that togetherness. But in front of millions of people watching it, there was nowhere to hide. They had to show their emotions and they had to come together. And of course, that was on their mind afterwards as well, as they spoke to the players, starting with Kyle Larin.
When it happened, it's hard to just digest. And I know the feelings of the guys, and some guys are more emotional than others, but you kind of have to just snap out of it. And obviously, you're going to feel how the way you feel, but you're going to have to carry on the game. And but we'll be there for Kone like we've done for the other guys that's happened to.
You're excited to go try and win the group for him?
Yeah, no, we're going to go all the way, and we're going to try to do it.
You know, just to give some of the viewers a bit of an insight into this, we go into the mix zone and not every player has to speak, and sometimes they decide to just chat. There were some players that were not wanting to speak, some players that came through with sunglasses on, that had headphones on, that just didn't want to be able to put it into words after an historic night. Some players that are very close to Moise Bombito, and you could hear what Kyle Larin had to say as well. Alistair Johnston, one of the players that always speaks and always speaks so well. Here's what he had to say after this one.
It's a freak injury, but it's definitely an unnecessary one at the same time. And at that point, you're just thinking, you feel for the kid, because you saw how good he was in the first match. You know, for us to be at our best, he's a big part of it. Hopefully be able to go see him tonight in the hospital, see what kind of spirits he's in. Yeah, look, it's going to hit him hard, but at the same time, I was proud of him. And we're going to play for him. We saw that, Natal came on, scored, and the first thing he's thinking about is Ismael. And that's what this team's all about, really. It's a brotherhood.
As you said, there's something to play for. Remember, this is a team that has been around adversity for a long time. It wasn't lost on me that Tajon Buchanan walked through there. Alistair Johnston was the player that passed him the ball in training for Copa America and heard that when Tajon Buchanan broke his leg. What are we talking about? Moise Bombito just coming off a broken leg. Maxime Crepeau in goal coming off a broken leg as well. So this has been a difficult moment for a lot of these players. Here's the captain, Alphonso Davies.
It was a great performance. We knew the outcome of the last game and wanted to do our job today, and that's what we did.
What about the team coming together to rally after Ismael? What was that like for you?
Yeah, it was a shock for everyone. You never expect this in the game of football, especially injuries like this. It was just a shock, and we lost a player that has a lot of quality, that brings a lot of quality to this team. And yeah, we're all trying to stay strong for him and keep our head up for him, and hopefully everything goes well.
We also spoke to Jonathan David and Stefan Eustáquio in a different area, not necessarily in the mix zone there, to be able to get that kind of video for you. And a lot of what was said there was Jonathan David was very, very concise in his answers, but did make some points where they were quite unsure about why Qatar were making those tackles and the ferocity that they were making them so far away from goal at that scoreline at that time. But as Canada said, as Stefan Eustáquio, the captain, said, you put your head down, you go out there, you continue to score the goals, and now they're in a good position for the group as well.
All right, KJ, appreciate you taking the time. Christian Jack out in Vancouver, taking in the match today, and of course talking about Ismael Kone there and his broken leg. We're going to dive more into that. By the way, Jesse Marsh confirming Kone is at the hospital. He's undergoing surgery. His mother is with him, and he also confirmed that the player who tackled him, Asim Madibo, did come into the Canadian dressing room afterwards to apologize. And he looked completely distraught as well on the pitch. It's an all-around such an unfortunate situation. But, your thoughts on Kone and as well how the team moves forward.
Well, first of all, on the injury that was suffered, I really don't think that the player did it on purpose. It even shocked Ismael Kone when he looked down, like his reaction said it all. But this is what happens when you're playing a team that, quite frankly, is nowhere good enough. They were nowhere fast enough. They couldn't keep up with the play. So the challenges may have looked or felt dirty to the players on the field. They were just exceptionally late because they weren't just one step off it, they were two or three. And that's giving full credit to Canada as well. Their intensity, the pace which they played at, Qatar simply couldn't keep up, Andy. And this is part and parcel of the 48-team World Cup. We're going to see games like this. Won't be the only game like this that we saw. We've already seen Germany just destroy Curacao 7-1. When you go down to 10, then 9 men, and you're a team like that, trying to play a team like Canada, good luck. They just couldn't keep up. And as for Ismael Kone, over the course of major tournaments, whether it's Olympics or World Cups or anything like this, there are these moments that define a team. And sometimes when adversity strikes within a tournament, man, this team has faced enough building up to the tournament, but when it happens within, it can really be a galvanizing moment. I'm not saying motivation, like all the motivation is playing to see for this group. They play for one another. It's a home World Cup for crying out loud. But this is just one of those moments where they look at each other and it's the next man up mentality that they've been experiencing in the build up to this World Cup that I think having that unfortunate experience before can pay off in spades going forward. Saliba, Chouanier, Osorio, whoever they play in that role, none of them are Ismael Kone. They're all different profile type players, but I don't think it will matter in terms of the commitment and the intensity that they'll continue to bring in order to try to get the job done.
Ishmael's a different breed, like through and through. The way that he plays his football, just his persona, even hearing him in the presser yesterday, like the charisma that he has. Keep in mind, like French is his first language. He's making jokes in English. Like that's just him. He's an infectious personality. And I think obviously on the football pitch and within a team, it's like a family. You got the jokers. You got the ones that are like the serious and
Pointing
smart
at me?
and beautiful ones. You got it. That's it.
Wait, were you pointing at Will?
I'm like the Joker, and he's like me.
Like
smart.
Spider-Man meme.
You have a family, right? That's the vibe there, but Ishmael Kone is the glue guy. He's the glue guy on the pitch, playing in the engine room in the center midfield, but just the way that he interacts. But I think when the glue guy is clapping, is coming off the pitch, knowing that his World Cup dream that he's worked for is gone just like that, the fire that that gives to your team, the fire that that gives to your country will go on and live on forever. I'm going to remember the 6-piece hold the fries today when Canada beat Qatar, but what I'm going to remember is a kid, a young man, clapping, knowing that his World Cup is over, but his team is going to go on and do business. And that, for me, is magic.
And do you know what the
magic?
Do you know what the next thing we saw after that? The player that came onto the field to replace him scored the first direct free kick of a World Cup.
Fantastic.
In Saliba holding up his kit. Like, that's saying, I got you, my friend.
Yes.
I got you. And so, look, like, man, it's such a significant loss. As I said, Qatar stunk. Like, look, we're going to celebrate the result. Qatar were so far off it, and some of the behavior just... It wasn't something that you're used to seeing at World Cups. With that being said, the tests are going to get bigger, and it's going to become more difficult going forward. Saliba's going to have a huge role to play in that, as will other players. You got to do it together, and that's what this group is, a team first and foremost.
10 seconds, it's intentional, because when you look at Tejan Buchanan, Schaffelberg, who plays a similar position, raised his jersey as well. Like, this is something that this brotherhood that everyone has talked about, this team always demonstrates. This is not a fluke. This is not for clout. This is a real deal, and I think that spirit can take them far in this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, you have to give the team credit as we take a look at their full-time stats, because sometimes, too, I mean, not that they were going to lose this, but it can kind of derail you a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
But they continued to get the goals. Saliba, it was such a heartwarming moment to see him have that awareness after he scores the goal to immediately do the number 8 with his hands. And then go and grab his kit. But this is pure domination, 78%. 31 shots to 2, 10 on target. Max Crepeau had a day off. Basically, 0 shots on target.
Can I share one stat, Andy? They had 97 touches in the attacking box. That's 26 more than anyone on record in a FIFA World Cup. That's 26 more than Germany in 1966 against Costa Rica. This was a record-setting performance.
So heading into this, we said that this was like their biggest game in their history, in the program. So they came out, they get the win. It's emphatic, as you mentioned, 6-0. Yes, Qatar, they were not good. They end up going down to 9 men. Canadians getting the job done. But here's the thing. We also knew they had to score the goal. We were showing you the standings there. Jesse Marcia said the goal is to finish first in the group. We know that. It's not just to move on, it's to finish first. So when they saw Switzerland, Jordan, I mean, it was like nothing in that first half. Second half, all kinds of action, because even Bosnia getting a red card there. They score. Then there's a penalty. It does, like, either way, it's 4-1, which means Switzerland's now on +3. So if you're Canada, you know that you got to at least win by 4 in order to be in first place. So to see that response, knowing what Switzerland did, how much more important does it make this result?
Yeah, it makes it's huge. And you could see the intent, right? Because even after they scored, they're still pressing like they needed to go and score. And I think that kind of just permeated throughout the group, just that willingness to go for and to make a difference. Now Canada in the driver's seat. But you know what I love about this, Wheels? Is that they're going to the driver's seat and they were going to play this game against Qatar, being the favorites. And now you're going, if you're looking at the group with Switzerland, even though they just gave them a 6-piece against Qatar, you're going against Switzerland and people are thinking, Switzerland always make it out the group. They always go far in this tournament. So now all of a sudden, in my opinion, Canada's the underdog, but with that vibe and with that conviction that they just played today, this is a perfect scenario for Canada. Going into a BC place that was packed out, I've never seen the place so red and white. Beautiful. Knowing that you can play at home and what that could bring to your team and what that could bring to your country, this is an ideal situation for Canada, and they deserve it by the effort they put out today.
And Vancouver, BC Place is a secret sauce. Not just because of the great support, which it was, and you want that home field advantage. You want to be able to play in this country. You could potentially play 2 knockout round games. But the fact you play indoors in a controlled climate where you're not battling the heat, no team runs as much or with the intensity as Canada. Yeah. So you want to mitigate those external factors that could maybe change the way that you play. This is huge for the group that they can control their own destiny. Switzerland's got to come into our house. This is our house and come away with the result. It draws good enough for Canada, so it puts them in a fantastic position. It's going to be a big matchup in this final group stage game, and I cannot wait for it.
Well, guess what? When we come back, we're going to go to our segment, This Is Our House, because that is exactly how the Canadians made it feel out in Vancouver, and that's where we're going to head to next and check in with Mackenzie Barwell as you continue to watch Bet365 for the win on One Soccer.
For the Win on One Soccer is presented by Bet365.
We were there for your first game together. The day you taught him the rules and the answer for every question. We've been there for the good times and a few moments we don't talk about. And now?
Who won the most Canadian Classics?
It's a passion you can share. And we're just happy we could be there. 20 years, and we're still growing. Together.
In Canada, our future stars don't simply show up on the world stage. They are built from the ground up, right here in the heart of our communities.
Oh, lovely through ball there, Isaiah Johnson! Goal for Halifax!
From a childhood dream to the national team.
Jacob Shuffle, good! Yes! He's done it! Canada on top of the football he will!
We are Canada, driven by Volkswagen.
Canada are really pressing here. Oh, what a move! That is a quality ball! Now the run into the box!
For the Win on One Soccer is brought to you by Samsung.
Vancouver definitely made it feel like this is our house, presented by Samsung. The Canadians playing to a 6-0 victory over Qatar. Let's head on out to Vancouver. Mackenzie Barwell on site at the Fan Fest, and she's joined by former Canadian men's assistant coach Michael Finley. Mackenzie.
Thanks, Andy. Well, Canada Soccer House here in North Vancouver has to be one of the most energetic places in the country. I was here this afternoon during the game. Michael, you were in the stadium, which I can only imagine was also incredible. Canada pick up their first World Cup win today, and they do so, outscoring Qatar 6-0. How historic of a moment is this?
Unbelievable. You know, football is all about firsts, right? You know, first goal, you know, first win, first tie, whatever. Today was probably the first monumental moment in football in Canada that could turn the tide. It was just, the atmosphere was incredible, but as someone who's been involved in football in Canada for so long, it was emotional, you know. But they also were professionals, and they delivered on the day they needed to deliver.
Let's continue that theme of monumental moments, because, Michael, I think this team has a knack for enjoying having something to prove. You know, I think about Kyle Larin and the way he came on against Bosnia to tie against that team, him putting Canada on the scoreboard first in this game against Qatar. There's someone like Jonathan David, who has received a lot of criticism for his time at Juventus and his inability to score recently with the national team, and today he joins Messi as the only two players to score a hat-trick in this 2026 World Cup. What did you make of his performance today?
Well, you know, it's interesting because at the end of the day, a lot of chatter, a lot of graffiti about Jonathan David. I think at the end of the day, he showed you why he is who he is and why he plays for a club like Juventus. And when there was questions asked about him prior to this game, he decided to show up. And that's exactly what we want from our players at this level of play. It's not about the maybes, it's about what we really can do and to prove it on the day. And he proved it on the day. And he rebounded from, you know, a difficult game he had in the first match against Bosnia, but he proved that he has the quality to be an international star. And let's be honest, let's share the stage with Messi for a while. I'm happy to see that in a Canadian.
Absolutely, and I think he and Jesse Marsh have a really good relationship in that sense, because he was the first to put his hand up in that press conference, say that game against Bosnia wasn't his best, but he was going to come out again and continue to score, which is exactly what he did. Now, Michael, the other thing I wanted to pick your brain on when I was watching this game, I immediately thought, oh, I want to get your opinion on what Jesse Marsh may have said in the second half hydration break after Ismael Kone's injury. Obviously, it was an emotional time, really difficult situation for Ismael and the rest of the team. How do they reset after something like that, you know, yourself being a former coach?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very difficult time. It's in match, so it is a really challenging moment because you don't really know, and so you have to put the players in a perspective of, you don't know the information, you still need to perform, you still need to deliver. You know, it's a sad day. We don't have any confirmations of what that injury is, but I can imagine it's not good looking at what happened. But at the end of the day, football is about unfortunate scenarios, and injuries are part of that. And luckily, there is going to be depth in this squad to deliver. In terms of the rallying point, I think Jesse probably just said to them, let's keep our heads here, gentlemen. The thing that was very noticeable when you looked at this scenario is it could have gone pear-shaped really quickly, because people are emotional and people are pointing fingers, and the officials are trying to keep the atmosphere at a temperature that doesn't go higher than it needs to. So I give credit to the players, and I give credit to the staff to keep that sort of calm at that moment in time, so they could continue to do what they needed to do, and that was to deliver a result that puts them in a great position for the game against Switzerland.
Well, let's talk about that, because as you said, it could have gone pear-shaped, but it didn't. That 6-0 win allows them to kind of jump ahead of Switzerland because of that goal differential, so they're probably on the front foot going into this next one.
Absolutely. I mean, look, the reality is that Canada needs to start to believe in themselves and deliver on games like this. The days of them being the underdog are over. These players are playing at the various highest level internationally. We have to have more demands on them. The public wants more demands, because that's what drives what you're seeing here. And the fact is, they showed up today. They did what they needed to do. Jesse made the changes that he needed to make, and I think they were good changes. And they turned up and they delivered. And that is exactly what you need to do in a World Cup.
Yeah.
End of story.
Yeah. Well, it's an exciting situation to be in with, you know, somebody like Nathan Saliba stepping up when he's called upon and then burying that free kick as soon as he steps on the pitch. I'll finish with this, Michael. What is your thoughts on what this country has become with regards to the international football landscape, seeing the turnout today across the country, but specifically in Vancouver?
Oh, I mean, you know, I tell you that when I moved because I was involved with the program for a very long time. And it sounds a bit of a self-promoting scenario, but I can't tell you how incredibly excited and pleased I am for not just the players, but the staff and the many people that have been involved in this process. But what really moved me was the fact that there was a group of fans that showed up and they wanted to support Canada at football. You know, I've been in stadiums as a head coach of Canada where you could count the people in the stands. So to see a stadium like that, the last time I saw the stadium was like that is we played Mexico in a World Cup qualifier. And it was just like this amazing moment. But now we're talking about consistency. You saw what happened in Toronto, full house. You saw what happened today, full house. You know what you're going to see on Switzerland? Full house. You know what I mean? That's what we want. We want the demands that come from that. And I was really pleased to see so many people so happy and so pleased to be part of Canadian football today.
Absolutely. I wanted to make sure you had an opportunity to speak on that because I could see the twinkle in your eye as soon as you got to North Van. So if things go as planned against Switzerland, they will stay here for the knockout stage in Vancouver. So looking forward to that if they're able to get the job done. Andy, back to you.
All right, great stuff, Mackenzie and Michael. Lots of energy there, and why not? Canada's feeling good heading into this final game in the group. Let's talk about Switzerland, and in particular, how good are the Swiss here? Wheels, we mentioned they played today as well, 4-1 winners over Bosnia and Herzegovina.
Very good. They're an excellent footballing side. They were exceptionally patient against Bosnia today. I think that Canada need to pick up the tempo and try to force them into some uncomfortable situations. Yoann Manzambi didn't start this game, but what a player he is. The central midfield matchup's going to be a difficult one. They play with 3 in the midfield, including Granit Xhaka, so there's a lot of muscle and experience there. They're not going to give up very many chances. Canada's going to have a much more difficult time breaking them down, and if it turns into a tactical chess match, Switzerland would be the favorites heading into this game. But with the home crowd, and if Canada plays at tempo and tries to play fast, I think they can make Switzerland at the very least feel uncomfortable.
I do rate the Swiss side. I think they're a team that obviously sound, they're tidy. I think Akanji at the back as well. Like you look at center backs and obviously Xhaka in the midfield, very poised, calm on the ball, and they want to move it and be methodical. However, this Canadian team, high tempo, the press, the fact that they run to throw in the ball, if they can play that type of tempo, I think it will really frustrate Switzerland. This is going to be the best team that Canada has played up until this point. They're ranked 19th for a reason. They always go on, or the past 3-4 World Cups, they always go on to the knockout round because of the ability for them to be so poised. But I think they're a beatable side. Obviously, it's not going to be a game where Canada goes and scores 6 goals against Switzerland. But I think what they showed today of their spirit and the fact that they were united, if they can go and be dominant, if they can go and try to impose themselves in the game, they have a real shot of not just getting a point, but getting 3 points.
If they can, like, the game model is going to be completely different from the 2 that we experienced. Switzerland is so comfortable on the ball that Canada are going to have to suffer. They're going to have to rely on their defensive shape to a certain degree, which we all understand that Canada plays at high intensity. And the center-back partnership, DeFougerolles and Cornelius, they haven't played anyone like Brie Mbolo yet. Yeah. He is a handful up top. So that's going to be the first real challenge for that center-back partnership. I think the fullbacks, Larea, Johnston, you have a lot of confidence in the way that they're playing right now. But let's see how the Canadian center-backs do going up against a really formidable player. Again, with 4 points now, like, Canada's advancing from the group. Yeah. Like, they're advancing to the next round of this competition, but it's about finishing first and staying in Vancouver.
And the cherry on top, I think it's a challenge, though. I think if you think about players who were a guy that was exceptional today in Johnston, having to mark an Ndoye for 90 minutes or 70 minutes, how long he might play next week, that's a challenge. And what I've noticed about this Canadian side is when they have to play teams that are better, they do step up their game.
Yeah, they do.
The underdog mentality, also with Ismael Kone going out and being injured, also being at BC Place now that was packed out and looked like a red house of over 50,000, all that plays to Canada's advantage. Now you have a David and you have a Laren feeling good like themselves. I really like the chance. They need to stay in the game, but you're right, Wheels. It's like when Switzerland are coming and throwing these punches, you got to make sure that you're ready to block and weave and give one back.
So world rankings aside, I mean, the fact that Bombito, by the way, came into this game, we know that Davies is available. He didn't even use Promise David as a sub in this one. When you just look at the way the World Cup has gone so far for both these teams in 2 games, you know, who would you favor? World rankings aside, who would you favor, Jordan?
I think Switzerland based on the record, right? But I'm going off of the intangibles, meaning the feeling, meaning the fact that you're hosting a World Cup, meaning that you're going into a BC place that you now know and felt that, like you felt that environment, what it was like today. But if you're looking at like rankings and how things were and the stats and feeling of Switzerland, then yeah, of course they would be the favorites. But again, I think them being the favorites favors Canada next week because that's what they want. They want to have that vibe, but also knowing that Switzerland, and they just really need a point, right, to go and do it and to top the group. So I think that also helps Canada next week.
You can see the early market on bet365, Switzerland plus 130. They are the favorites. That's still at plus money, so it's not a significant favorite, but they are the favorite coming into this game, which a lot of people that are just watching this group play out say, well, how is Switzerland the favorite? They tied the Qatar side, which Canada dismantled tonight. Context was completely different. They were playing in really warm weather, right in the middle of the day. It played to Qatar's strengths. Switzerland had an XG of almost 4 in that game, expected goals of almost 4. They just couldn't finish their chances. And Qatar hung around, and as the heat seeped in, the game slowed down, and it played to Qatar's favor. Playing in Vancouver, that's going to play to Canada's favor as well. It's just whether Canada can withstand, their structure can withstand some really smart, some really intelligent play by Switzerland. It's going to be a completely different test this time around.
All right, looking forward to that one. One more game to go for Canada in the group. Can they accomplish their mission of finishing first in that group? More footy coming your way here on the channel. One Soccer TELUS Canadian Championship resumes. You have leg 1 of the quarterfinal. It's going to be a very busy July 8th. Those are the matches you can catch right here. More coming up on Bet365 for the win. Oliver Platt's going to be joining us. Is that him jumping up and down at Canada Soccer House? I don't know. We'll find out what kind of partying he did.
Always in the back. He'd be blocking everyone.
So tall.
Ginormous head.
For the Win on One Soccer is brought to you by General Mills. For the Win on One Soccer is brought to you by Turkey Farmers of Canada.
In Canada, our future stars don't simply show up on the world stage. They are built from the ground up, right here in the heart of our communities.
Oh, lovely through ball there, Isaiah Johnson! Goal for Halifax!
From a childhood dream to the national team.
Jacob Shuffle, good! Yes! He's done it! Canada on top of the footballing world!
We are Canada, driven by Volkswagen.
And for Canada, BMO.
After 20 years of supporting the game, we're actually going to play in one. Let's go! So what do you need? Precision striker, rock solid left back?
We need a coin.
For the coin toss? Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, I get it. Can I at least flip it? Heads or tails? I'll do that. We're on TV right now. Yeah.
Hey neighbor, meet Walmart Plus, the new membership that does delivery differently. I'm talking unlimited free same-day delivery, free shipping, and no order minimum. And it comes with a Crave subscription too. Yeah, it's like a 2-for-1. Try it free for 30 days. Walmart Plus.
For the Win on One Soccer is presented by Bet365.
Here's the next match that will be played at Toronto Stadium. It's Germany, Ivory Coast, 4 p.m. Eastern. Oliver Platt will be in attendance, and who will be with him? Gareth Wheeler. They will let him in the building.
Wheels up.
They're letting him in the building, folks. That is right. Beautiful night in Toronto, Ontario. Oliver Platt taking in the Canada match against Qatar inside Canada Soccer House. Let's bring Ollie in. No umbrella this time around. It is a great night. You are nice and dry. How were the festivities during the Canadian match and just taking it all in and seeing that Canada, who needed the win, got it done?
Yeah, it's been a really great day here, Andy. The clouds broke and the sun came out, which felt fitting for the match we were going to watch as well. I was walking around just before kickoff trying to kind of take everything in. There was still a lineup around the block of people trying to get inside. This place was packed, and it was like walking into a stadium, the noise that people were making inside Canada Soccer House here. So really cool to see, and it made you kind of think back to some of the darker times, and there's people who have seen much more of them with this men's national team than I have, but I've seen a few, and you kind of think back to, you know, November internationals when BMO Field or Toronto Stadium is, you know, a quarter full. If that, there might have been more people in here today than there were at some of those games. And maybe some times where you didn't think you'd see anything like this, and we've seen it today. It was really special. And they were responding to the performance. You know, I think we can talk about tactics and selection decisions and the quality of opposition and all the rest of it. But this team, I think, what you can't question, what you can't second guess at all, is the attitudes, the commitment, the way they fight for each other, the way they're responding to adversity right now. Whether it's the Ismael Kone moment, which shook everyone in here as much as in BC Place, to, you know, the criticism Jonathan David's taken, the criticism Kyle Laren's taken, the way this team has responded, like, people are responding to it. And I think we saw that in qualifying for 2022. We saw it at the Copa America. We're seeing it again here on the biggest stage in front of the biggest audience. And I think this group of players is proving themselves to be a very, very worthy representation of the country.
You mentioned Kyle Laren, Jonathan David. We've talked about them here, and I'm wondering if there's anyone else who stood out to you tonight.
Yeah, well, we've talked a lot about the fullback who is not playing, and understandably so. We're all desperate to see Alphonso Davies get on the pitch, but how about we talk about the two who are playing, because I think they've been two of Canada's best players through these first two games of the World Cup. I think they've both been absolutely brilliant, Richie Larea and Alistair Johnston. Johnston in particular was sublime today. You know, these guys defend, they get forwards, they get into midfield and help the team out in central areas. They make runs outside to create space inside. They make runs into the box to create space for the wingers on the outside. They get touches in the box. They put service into the box. They do it all. I think, you know, you would call Eustáquio and Kone the engine of this team, but the fullbacks in a different way, I think, really drive Canada, and did so again today. I thought those two performances were outstanding and a huge part of the number of goals they were able to score, which is very significant when you look at the standings in Group B.
Give a little love to the fullbacks there, Wheels.
I gave a lot of love to the fullbacks after the first game, and I echo Ollie's sentiment. Those two, you just trust them, like, unquestionably. The work rate, they set the tone in terms of the physicality. They both have a little bit of swagger and confidence as well, and I think that he rightly pinpointed those two players as being star performers yet again for this Canadian men's national team.
Alistair Johnston had a day. I think my favorite part was how clever he was with his movement. So sometimes he's playing Tajon Buchanan the ball wide, but he's doing an underlap. He's going inside. He's making runs. There's so many plays where he played Tajon Buchanan, made a run in between the back line, but then said, okay, I'm going to recycle, overlap, whipped in the cross. You're looking at the goals as well for Canada, and you think about Laren just following up on David's shot. But it's also the delivery, and it was coming down that right-hand side a lot. That was Alistair Johnston putting in the right service at the right time, and it gave Canada life tonight.
Something we've been discussing, Ollie, and maybe we should put a little bit more emphasis on it, especially as the World Cup grows and, you know, this tournament and even the ones that are going to be in the future. We already know it's coming down to multiple cities, multiple countries, which means a ton of travel, and that ends up factoring into what a coach, what a team wants to accomplish. So to drive home as well, why Jesse Marsch? We've said it already, but to drive it home a little bit more, how important it is to get that win against Switzerland, to finish first and stay put and not have to travel and even deal with time changes.
Yeah, I'll hold my hand up. I was kind of the thinking before this tournament, particularly with Canada's injuries and the way they entered the tournament, just get in the top 2. And I think even if you finish second, you'll have a, not necessarily a game you'll be a favourite in the knockout round, but not an insurmountable task by any means. I think today it's hard not to watch that and not to think, keep yourself in Vancouver, do everything you can to be playing those knockout games in Vancouver. And it flips again, right? We were talking about after the first game, it was hard to see the third game not really having, massive consequences. Now that, I think, changes a little bit because of the results today, not just the wins for Canada and Switzerland, but the extent of the victories with the kind of head-to-head tiebreaker and then the goal difference. It's quite hard, it's very hard. It's almost impossible now to imagine Canada and Switzerland not finishing first and seconds in this group because of the way things have gone today and what it would take to kind of overcome those deficits. So now I wonder, how will Switzerland approach that third game? Is there a possibility that they start looking to the next round, start thinking second place suits us okay, we go to LA, we're based in California, we're okay with the opponent in second place, we get a chance to rotate the team a little bit, and perhaps Canada's a bit more desperate to win that game or even to get the point they need to stay in Vancouver. So that's an interesting one. It's also consequential, I think, in terms of the runway into that next round. The Vancouver game is 4 days later. That would help Canada a lot when you think about Alphonso Davies and Moise Bombito.
As an athlete, there's no question, routine is key, right? Like where you sleep, where you eat. Ollie, keep in mind, every time we're on the road, we go to a Chipotle, right? Like I know who I'm with. Ollie's my guy. We go and eat there, right? But imagine Canada, knowing that you have BC
Is that why
place.
I'm alone in the gym?
Yeah, maybe.
As I'm working out?
We're eating Chipotle, getting the calories up to do the big lift. All jokes aside, you get into a routine and you know where you're gonna be and who you're gonna sit next to in the locker room, what the stadium's gonna be like, what it feels like walking out of the tunnel. That, for me, gives you percentages. That gets you up to this place that they need to be. That's what BC Place could be for Canada. If you go and win, the walk that you do on the day of, you know where you're gonna go. The smoothie joint that you like to go to around the corner, you know where you're gonna be. The fans are gonna feel the vibe. You're at home. You're in Canada. All these things are percentages that just bring this team up. So you have to go and do it now. It's not the end of the world if you finish second. Of course, this is still going to be a milestone, Wheels, and it's something that pushes this team into an area that they've never done. But you're that close to being at home and hosting. Go out and do that and have that confidence.
You're not getting those vibes in Inglewood, in LA. You're just not. And we're establishing something here. This team, I should say, is establishing something. Like tonight's result and the manner by which, and I like how Ollie brought that up, because the results in Copa America, it wasn't this team running away with all these trademark victories. It was the way that they played. So I thought that tonight's win and the way that they played, this country's on fire right now. They have to stay in Vancouver. Ollie said it. The 4 extra days, the LA game, knockout round game, is the first one, the first knockout round game. Switzerland knows that as well. I think there's no chance Switzerland are going to rotate. I cannot see a world they're going to go for it as well, because you get to stay in Vancouver twice in a climate-controlled indoor stadium, which probably plays to their strengths as well. It plays to Canada's strengths more so than Switzerland. I think Switzerland may be a little bit more adaptable, but I think Switzerland are coming out and they're going to try to lay a real big punch and really test Canada in a different way.
You know the questions are going to start coming in the next few days, Ollie, to Jesse Marsh about who's going to replace Kone in that midfield. And tonight, Nathan Saliba comes on in, gets the goal, and looks great. Do you think that is his first choice? Are you looking at Chouanier? If we're just kind of, hypothesizing here of who we think could be that starter, who do you think it could be?
I think it's undoubtedly Saliba, and I don't want to overlook Kone's injury for a second. It's an absolute heartbreaker, and he's played very, very well for Canada at this tournament. He is a huge loss. There is no question about it. But injury or no injury, Nathan Saliba's moment in this tournament was going to come. This is a really talented player who's playing at a good level in Europe. Maybe not someone who fans are watching in the Belgian league week in and week out, but he's really grown there at Anderlecht, and he's going to be a player like Kone, who maybe some other clubs are looking at. So, one door closes in the most heartbreaking fashion for Ismael Kone, but another one opens for Saliba. And to come off the bench and bury a free kick and lift up your teammate's shirt, that was a pretty impressive way to kind of, set the tone for, I think, what Saliba can bring to this midfield.
All right, well, again, I'm sure Jesse Marsh is going to be asked that, and we'll see what training tells us, and then we'll find out on that June 24th day when they play their final game against Switzerland. Oliver Platt, who's been partying it up inside Canada Soccer House. There he is again. No, I'm kidding. I think that's Vancouver now. All right, when we come back, we're going to get Wheeler's Bet365 Play of the Day. Parlays, everything. Stay with us.
For the Win on One Soccer is brought to you by General Mills. For the Win on One Soccer is brought to you by Turkey Farmers of Canada.
Canada are really pressing here. Oh, what a move. That is a quality ball. Now the run into the box.
Hey neighbor, meet Walmart Plus, the new membership that does delivery differently. I'm talking unlimited free same-day delivery, free shipping, and no order minimum. And it comes with a Crave subscription too. Yeah, it's like a 2-for-1. Try it free for 30 days. Walmart Plus.
Hey Vinny, is that your lucky song? That's too bad, because it's Tajon's too. And don't trust those lucky boots. They're not gonna score on their own. In soccer, the best don't run on rocket fuel. They run every single day. So believe in your sweat, and Gatorade will fuel it with a formula that rehydrates, replenishes, and refuels. Because when it matters most, trust what's inside. Is it in you?
We were there for your first game together. The day you taught him the rules. And the answer for every question. We've been there for the good times and a few moments we don't talk about. And now?
Who won the most Canadian Classics?
It's a passion you can share. And we're just happy we could be there. 20 years, and we're still growing. Together.
For the Win on One Soccer is brought to you by Samsung.
Let's make some money! Wheeler's parlay of the day. Here we go. We're looking ahead to Friday. Let's make it a good one. Morocco to beat Scotland.
Yep.
Morocco can go on and, they're a legitimate contender in this tournament. They had a better XG than Brazil in the first game. Do you see this Buati kid play? He is a baller. Scotland were level on XG with Haiti in the first one. Speaking about Haiti, their right back, his name is Carlins Arcus, okay? And my good buddy Jake Osgathorpe from the wonderful city of Manchester has Arcus to pick up a card. He fouled 3 times. John McGinn. Now he's going to go up against Vinny Jr. this game. 2 or more fouls for the right back from Haiti, Carlins Arcus. And I also like Turkey to go on and beat Paraguay. Canada had 31 shots tonight and lived in Qatar's end. Turkey had 28 shots against Australia, 28 and 7 on target. I think they're too good for Paraguay. Put that all together, what was it, plus 475? Let's go. Big Friday upcoming.
Jordan, your eyes lit up when he said a certain name.
Oh, yeah.
Because who is your Telus player to watch?
If you haven't noticed at home, this is my brother from another mother, Gareth Wheeler, and we think
What? You look so alike.
Look at that. Yeah, we're twins.
I am the player to watch tomorrow?
He is not, but he alluded to the player that I want to talk about, and
Carlins
that is Ayub. No. Not that guy. Ayub Buhari. Look, Wheels, we watch so much football all the time, and a lot of players play like the next player or whatever. There aren't moments where you look at an 18-year-old and you're like, that kid has it. There's a reason why Arsenal, Liverpool, Real Madrid are all after this 18-year-old. He bossed the midfield against Brazil. This is his breakout party. This is his breakout tournament. And he has all the tools to be something sensational. His presence in the midfield, his vision, the fact that he could tackle. Morocco, this is their player to watch. I agree with you, Wheels. I love their side, but this 18-year-old is something special.
Yeah, do you know what club he plays for? Lille. Like, there's certain clubs that just, their scouting is just above and beyond what other clubs are.
Yeah.
That's why when they go on and sell a Lenny Yoro or a Jonathan David, they replenish and they find other gems, and Boati's the latest one. I mean, this Moroccan midfield is better than the one that reached the Final Four 3.5 years ago. And they're two fullbacks in Hakimi and Mazraoui. Like, you can't get past them. So this Moroccan side, legit.
Very good side.
Legit.
By the way, currently going on right now, Mexico, Korea. Mexico's still up 1-0. Just looking at host nations, they're still up 1-0. Canada picking up a victory here. Tonight, we know the Americans won their first game. Their second game will be against Australia. However, Christian Pulisic had injured his left calf in that game, came out. Mauricio Pochettino saying today that he still needs to be evaluated. So it sounds like he'll be a game time decision when they take on the Aussies tomorrow. You know, I mean, what do you think that means for this team? And do they have enough players, the depth to fill that?
Doesn't sound great, does it? Came off at halftime of the last game, and the U.S. were rolling. So at that time, big deal, little deal, no deal. I mean, it's a deal.
Yeah.
But Pulisic is. I don't think he's the best player on the U.S., but I think that people look at him to be the catalyst, the straw that stirs the drink. And no, Pulisic means a little bit of a rethink. The U.S. played so well against Paraguay. If you're Mopo, you just want to roll at the same team. It's like go and do it again. Australia perennially at every tournament punches above their weight. We saw them beat Canada last fall because they're just so difficult to break down. Touré can get you on the counterattack. He's an excellent player. Irankunda as well. Like, two really talented strikers for Australia. So it's not an easy match. I think the U.S. is rightfully favored and should go on to win it, but nothing's going to come easy tomorrow.
Australia is frustrated in play. There's certain teams, everyone's robust, everyone can defend, everyone can run. This is the World Cup, right? Teams are obviously going to defend you and hang in there. But there's something about Australia where they're just like, even when you hit them and you're on the ground, they just get back up quick. They don't look phased, right? So I think to some degree that will frustrate the Americans, but I also think this is a side with a lot of depth and quality. And the way that they started this tournament, if they could be around that area or around that level to some degree, yeah, they're looking like the favorites, and they're looking like a team to actually make a deep run at this tournament.
The U.S. wants to follow up what was one of the best performances in the first round of games, and they want to back that up with another. Like, you lose this game, Turkey is your last game. That's not an easy team to play against. So the U.S. wants to come away with a convincing victory. Should be a great atmosphere in Seattle, by the way. The Aussies, they party.
Well, even in Canada right now, they've been showing up at CPL games.
Love it.
It's amazing. As we take a look at the Group D standing, so yeah, United States and Australia both on a win, so that'll be a big match to see who can separate themselves in the group. Group C standings.
Look at Scotland.
Scotland had that victory. Morocco, Brazil, you know, there's your draw. That was the win over Haiti. So, you
Scotland's fans also
they're feeling good.
Lead the World Cup in beverages consumed as well. They did. Like, Boston said it was like 8 St. Patrick's Day. The Tartan Army rolled in, and they're still in Boston. They're not leaving.
Are they doing all right?
They're doing great.
Okay, so I know you had your bets, and you are favoring Morocco in that one. But either way, when you look at this type of matchup, how do you think it will play out between Scotland and Morocco?
I think Scotland were a little bit fortunate against Haiti, weren't they? They're able to hold on. Morocco are the better side here. Morocco can also go on and win this group, which would change the way that you look at any potential bracket. If they bump Brazil down to a second spot, I mean, that's big. Morocco looked to be a better team than Brazil. Of course, there's the talent in the Brazilian side. I think Scotland are in for a rude awakening tomorrow.
Yeah, Morocco's the real deal. We also already touched on like the depth, but also just, you think about the last tournament when they went to the semifinals 4 years ago. I think this team has more upside and more talent going into this World Cup, but also, when you play Brazil first and you play them the way that they did, they didn't look inferior. They looked like a team that was ready and equipped to go out and do some magic at this World Cup. So I like that. I think Scotland, you know what you get with a Scottish team as well. They're obviously going to have their fist up and going to go and compete. But Wheels is right. Looking at Brazil and Morocco, they'll probably be those two top teams in this group.
Tapping the kegs early tomorrow.
All about
Friday, the weekend has begun.
Oh, dear. That just sounds
amazing.
Well, we're different. By the way, the big story of the day, of course, is Canada defeating Qatar.
Go on, Canada.
6-0, guaranteeing themselves
6 nuggies, no fries.
6-piece McNuggets, no fries.
Exactly. Do you have room for a beverage in there?
got the six-pack.
So they will be moving on to the knockout stage, but the job isn't done. The key is to minimize their travel, so that'll be a big game against Switzerland to finish top of the group. On behalf of Gareth Wheeler, Jordan Wilson, and everyone here at One Soccer, and all the Canadian fans who continue to celebrate, I'm Annie Petrillo. Thanks for tuning in to Bet365 for the win, and we'll see you next time.